If you're working in mining right now, you don't need me to tell you what the atmosphere feels like. Redundancy cycles have a very particular energy. You feel it before anything is officially said.
I'm Kirsten, and this is Digging a Little Deeper into English with Kirsten. I help mining professionals communicate clearly enough to lead, advance, and work safely across cultures. Some episodes I share stories from the field, my own experiences over 20 years in mining. In other episodes, I bring you voices from the industry, professionals who have overcome real communication challenges. Every episode, real experience, practical lessons.
My LinkedIn feed is currently filled with people announcing they're available for work. There's been a redundancy round and they need to find another job. It's just everywhere at the moment. And so this has sort of prompted me to share a story from my own career. Not because I want to talk about me, but because it really illustrates something critical about why some people survive these redundancy rounds and why others don't. It wasn't what I thought it was. So, I'll give you some context. Just before the GFC, the global financial crisis, I was working at a processing facility in Australia. I was in the R&D group on the development side of R&D, which means that I was focused on looking for future opportunities, optimization, and asking the annoying question, how can we do this better? I love that job. It's still one of my favorites. Look, at first, Australia was not really affected by the GFC, while other economies were tanking, and by that I mean rapidly falling. The Australian economy stayed pretty stable, but not forever. It was probably, I think, about 6 months later that reality caught up with us. And then many businesses moved into survival mode, including mine. And when this happens, R&D is usually the first thing they cut. It's long-term thinking and it's not all that essential for day-to-day survival. That's just how it works. So the moment that everyone dreads, it happened. One morning, we all arrived on site and there was security everywhere. Don't know what it's like in your country, but in the Australian mining industry, that's a really clear sign that not everyone is coming back tomorrow. Redundancies were coming. Now, my department, I can't remember exactly, but I think there was 16 of us at that time. And 16 in R&D is a large number of people. One by one, we were called down to the front office and we had to have a one-on-one conversation with our manager. And I was watching the people going ahead of in front of me. Most of them were being told they had an hour to collect their things and leave site. Some people were devastated. Some people were terrified because some had families, some had mortgages, two people working on site together and both at risk of losing their job. One guy, my boss at the time, and a really nice guy, he was at retirement age. Look, he was excited. He practically danced down to the gate. He didn't want them to change their mind. Then it was my turn. I had let everyone else go before me. They needed the answers more than I did. I didn't have children. I didn't have a financial situation that was going to be impacted so badly. And I really felt for the stress that they were going through. And when it got to my turn, I finally sat down. I remember saying something like, Look, it's okay. We're both adults here. I get it. You've had a pretty rough day. At least this conversation will be easy. I looked into my manager's eyes, and you could see the stress. He looked back at me and he said, "Thank you. I really appreciate that. Um, we've decided to keep you." I was the only one walking back into the plant. Honestly, I was in shock. I was speechless. That doesn't happen very often. Survivor's guilt is real. If you've been through a redundancy round, you will understand that feeling. I kept asking myself one question: why me? It took me a long time to really move past the emotions and look at it unemotionally, balanced view, and understand why they did keep me. And I'll tell you what it wasn't. They didn't keep me because I was an easy employee for them. I wasn't a yes person. That is someone who agrees with everything to keep the peace, to make their manager happy. If anything, I was the opposite. I challenged decisions. I questioned direction. I had really strong opinions. I annoyed people. I didn't even see the world the same way as my manager. We clashed, not emotionally, but intellectually. I would look at a situation and think for sure in this case we need to turn left, and he would tell me we're going to turn right. We just did not see things the same way. And yet, I was the only one he kept. Here's what mattered. Part of it was practical, I have to say that. I had licenses that the other people didn't have. Dangerous goods shipping license, quarantine approvals. These are operational tickets that matter in a crisis. Because that's redundancy thinking. What skills do we absolutely need as a business to survive? But here's the part that I underestimated, and I think many people underestimate. I could communicate. I didn't just say this is wrong. I said, here are the options, here are the risks, here are the benefits, and this is why I think this is right. And then, this was the crucial part, when the decision was made, I aligned with it. That's not weakness, that's professional maturity. Healthy conflict is not a threat in business. Professionally appropriate disagreement, disagreeing without attacking, presenting alternatives without ego, is incredibly valuable, especially in a redundancy phase. Because organizations don't just need technical thinkers, they need people who can translate that technical reality into business language. People who understand that the best technical solution doesn't always win. Business constraints exist that you might not see, and decisions are rarely purely technical. Communication is the bridge between all of that. If you're in mining right now and redundancies are in the air, here is the uncomfortable truth. Your technical ability alone may not protect you. Your ability to articulate risk, talk about risk, explain the options clearly, challenge appropriately, and then align when the decision is made. That's what makes you valuable in uncertainty. That's what makes you useful when organizations are shrinking. Just let me close with one final point here. Interestingly, Many of the people who were made redundant on that day, they went on to better roles very quickly. I didn't. They grew, they moved, they were promoted. I stayed where I was. So survival may not be the best outcome, but that's a totally different conversation. What is clear to me is this: in moments of organizational stress, communication is not a soft skill anymore. It's a career skill, and sometimes it's a survival skill. Thanks for listening.